Painting is like breathing to me because I don't think about it. Everywhere I am, I have my book, and if there's something popping up, I start a sketch. I don't approach it logically. Should I use a small brush to do some lines, or should I take just a pen or a marker or something like that? Hi, I'm Gris from Berlin. I'm a sketcher and a painter, and I'm sitting here in Jackson's studio. We're going to talk about my work and my life. I realized that I wanted to be an artist when I was a kid, but I didn't plan it. My earliest creative memory I can't really remember, because I think any kid is creative and is painting and drawing and sketching and so on. But I think it was 1988, I made my first watercolor at my auntie. It was a Christmas bulbul. And I can remember that because I think this was a point where it started being something more or something different from the childhood creativity. If I talk about my education, I have to talk about graffiti, because when you're a young boy, you draw, and then there's a time when it's not really cool to draw anymore. And at this point, graffiti came in my life and filled the emptiness until I started painting and do watercolor. Then I went to school. There was a small time when I wanted to be an artist and a full artist, but I wasn't brave enough. I wanted to be an art teacher. So I went to the university, and I had to choose 2 subjects, and the second subject, which was not art, was breaking my leg. I didn't break my leg. It's a German saying, like, es hat mir das Bein gebrochen. It killed the opportunity for education for me. I didn't graduate as an art teacher because just a month before that, it all started to get attractive being not an art teacher at a school. I tried to go to university in Berlin, but it's hard because there are only 2 which educate art teachers. So I had to go to Potsdam. It's the nearest biggest city from Berlin, 1 hour by train. I learned the most while driving in the train to the university, because I had my sketchbook with me and I sketched all the people in the train. And sometimes in the university, it wasn't like worthwhile at all in the time when I went there, but the train ride to the university and back. I had some good courses, there are some good teachers, but of course there's so much things that nobody will ever need or teach in art. What I most like to sketch is hard to tell, because I find things in anything. Sometimes it's like cameras, sometimes it's a face, sometimes it's a landscape. What they tell me or what they say about me is that I'm trying to find good motives in lame motives, and I want to give them more life. I want to make them more organic. For example, I don't want to go to Buckingham Palace and sketch it because it's drawn, photographed a million times. I turn my head and I see like a paper basket or some garbage laying there. Then I sketch this more often. It has something to do with the idea of urban sketching. The idea is that you draw what you see, and I'm living in Berlin, and so I sketch the things around me, because it shouldn't be only houses and urban things. I switch to persons, figures, and completely other stuff. I love watercolor and using watercolor because you cannot plan it 100%, even after 30 or 35 years of painting with watercolor. There's always a space for coincidence, because it's water, it's flowing, it's life, and this is what I like, and this is what I love. There are 2 reasons why I use watercolor. The first reason is because it's the most lovely looking technique. And there are so many situations where, if you know how, watercolor can do the job for you. The pragmatic reason is it's easy to transport. You don't have the tubes, you don't have to open the tubes, put the paint on a palette, and after painting you have to pack it all in your bag again, and it has to be dry and so on. It's pragmatic. You can use just a small box and you have anything you need. You have to have Umbra gebrannt and ultramarinblau. Because these two colors mixed together are a neutral gray for any shadows. A good gray, which you can change the temperature on. You can do warm gray with more umbra. You can do cold gray with more ultramarine. The first colors ideal for starters. If you start watercoloring just for the first day or first week, just use one color. Then the next one comes in. Then there are colors which I cannot think about missing. It's Lasur Orange, China Credon Gold, Opernrosa, Sienna Natur, Neutral Tinte. These are colors which I have to have in my box, otherwise I would get nervous. When I was a kid, I went to my auntie and she gave me my first watercolor box and I made my first watercolor picture. And it was Schmincke. And then I went to a school and they had Schmincke. And then I started being a teacher for artist travel, which is a big company. They do courses all around Germany and Swiss and so on. And when I started there, I got an invitation from Schmincke to come to see them for their Jubilee of Horadam colors. And I was like, oh, they're inviting me. This is nice. And the manager of Arts Travel said, will we see us there? And I said, why do you know where I am and where I'm going now? Why did Schmincke invite you? And she said, because you're the new teacher from Artist Travel. And so I went there and I saw all the other teachers which were invited had gray or white hairs. And so all eyes were on me from Schmincke. And perhaps they thought, this is a good guy, these are good paintings, let's start more. And then we married. I was a big Schmincke fan before I went to the company the first time, because it's a big company, I don't know, like 180 or 100 employees, but anybody who talked to me and to themselves, they're all like a big family. I love the colors, I love the company because I got to know them. And yeah, it's like a marriage, and I'm proud that I'm married the right company, the right color company. I'm a lazy person, so I don't want to draw and paint all the leaves from a tree or all the windows from a house. I'm happy if I can do it with minimum effort, if I sketch it rawly and fast. When it's working, I'm done. Normally I don't use a pencil because I want my lines to be brave and strong with fails, and I don't want to do something which I can erase if I want. This is what I try to teach the students as well. But if the scene is very complex or it's a new motive, sometimes I use the pencil to pre-sketch, and then I go over with the fountain pen and erase the lines. I use the water-resistant ink because I draw first and then I put watercolor on it. And if I put watercolor or water on normal ink, it will bleed. I want crisp lines. So I use the water-resistant ink before I colorize with watercolor. As a classic traditional watercolorist, you have rules. You don't do this, you're not allowed to do that. But a sketcher can do anything he wants or she wants. She can use acrylic, gouache. Even I use the spray can in my sketchbook. You can do stamps, you can do collage, you can do anything. And I don't think about mixed media when I do my sketches. Should I use a small brush to do some lines, or should I take just a pen or a marker or something like that? I have no fear, even no thinking about introducing other materials in my sketchbook. I always have this shoulder bag, and there's always the box, a book, and my little bag with some pens, the fountain pen, and so on, always in it. And it's not, I think it's under 1 kilogram. I try to look that it's not too heavy. So small box, small sketchbook, waterbrush, that's all. If you sketch outside, you will see that the people, we say Distanzlosigkeit, which is a lack of distance, because anyone had drawn as a kid. And they feel like they can watch it and they can say something about it. Nobody would do that when it comes to instruction in the streets. Nobody would say, this window, it's not like the same angle as the other. But if somebody's drawing in the streets, they look and sometimes they approach you, sometimes they disturb you. You have to deal with it. If you don't want that, I have a set of things. If you're stressed by people who want to disturb or approach you while you sketch in the streets, you do this. Oh, it's still on. So now my ears are closed, my eyes are closed, there's no entrance to me. The people won't contact you. But I always tell this in my courses or classes, if you do that, you will miss the possibility to get to know new people. A lot of good stories began because of being approached or disturbed while sketching. So you have to decide what you want. Do you want to sit alone and do your sketch and go home? Or do you want to communicate with people and answer questions?
Ich zieh jeden Tag raus in eine Schlacht, was mich langsam aber sicher kaputt macht. In den Augen meiner
I made music like 20 or 30 years long now. I made some studio albums. It's conscious rap. We did some small tours and gigs around Berlin and so on. I mentioned that I did graffiti, and graffiti is a part of the hip-hop culture. And the music I make is a part of the hip-hop culture. So it's stuck together. I paint, and a lot of the graffiti things are influencing my work even today. I have a lot of influences from graffiti scene, and I'm influenced by artists which are totally unknown. I find something in pictures and then I see, oh, this guy has 300 followers or 12 likes. I'm in love with a spray can and lines, fill-ins, colors. That's what we did in this time. It was a big community, like 50% of my friends did that, and we traveled to other places and met new people and sprayed with them. We had our problems because it was and is illegal. It forms a good community. They are very strong. When I'm in my studio, it's a small room in the house which I live in. I do anything, larger watercolor pictures, but even acrylic, or sometimes we use the spray can inside, but it's not really good. So I use it as a normal painter's studio. A typical working day is a typical day for me. For me as a professional artist and teacher, any day is Saturday and any day is Monday, which means there is no difference between the days. I wake up early, untypically for an artist, and then normally I do some bureaucratics and email stuff, and then I start going out, and then I think about, oh, I have time, should I do a sketch, or just, I call it training. For me, it's often not the final piece, so I think about, should this sketch be in my sketchbook, and should I sketch this or draw this? But it's the process. And if I sit there on the corner and drink a cappuccino and do some lines and some sketching, I'm happy. And ideally, I go in the studio in the afternoon or in the evening and finish the sketch or boost it up, do some more painting stuff than in the little books, more on pads, on big papers. How did teaching change the way I do art? This is nearly a problem for me because the last years I did not make much art. Anytime I painted, it was for something. For a workshop, for a course, for a video, anytime but 90%. When I think about it, I instantly want to make a break with teaching and do like half a year just painting, not thinking about students or how can I teach this to someone. In the last years, I teach a lot in workshops, online workshops, seminars, journeys where people paint like 1 week in Mallorca or Italia or Austria or at the North Sea or East Sea in Germany, it was a lot of teaching. It is a very, very good job and I love it. But if you teach painting 6 hours a day, you won't get in the studio and paint in the evening. Normally, the artist life is you wake up in the middle of the day and then you start painting and painting and painting and painting. And you need to have time and room for that. If you give a lesson, the energy is gone for painting. What makes a good paper for me? My students ask me this, or they come and say, oh, I have this paper, it's 500 grams, heavy, this must be good, or this. It's a whole world of paper and different productions of papers and so on. I cannot say this is a good paper or not without testing it, or I know it. And it's all about experience. I spent so much money in paper the last decades, in bad paper. So my advice is to get the good quality paper, get cotton paper if you want to have the magic of watercolor. If you don't, you will be frustrated in 5 minutes, 5 weeks or 5 months. I like the rough one, not so rough that I cannot draw with my fountain pen, but so rough that the watercolor can do magic. It's more comfortable drawing on a smooth paper, but it has more magic if you colorize with watercolor on a rough paper. I prefer to use a sketchbook because it's easier to transport, but my friends who are thinking about my financial situation, they always say, you're such an idiot. Why don't you paint on loose papers? Because you can sell it afterwards. If somebody wants a sketch from my sketchbook and say, I want this, I love this, can I have this? I always have to say no, because you don't cut out sketches from a book. So if you want to sell anything, it would be more smart to paint on loose papers, but I love having sketchbooks. If you have a small brush, you use it often like a pencil, and you start fill out spaces with colors like with a pencil, like these small strokes, and they are not saving enough water and enough color to do big washes and so on. But if you have a good brush, you can have a big one, but the tip is fine and stiff, and you can do small and thin lines. Then you have anything you need. When I'm outside and sketch outside, I always use a waterbrush pen because I don't want to transport water and glasses and bottles. When you are a beginner, I would recommend to use a synthetic brush because mostly they are more stiffer and more like a pen or pencil. But you will come to the point when you want to do more, and you see all the old masters using these softer brushes with real hair, because they are not only stiff and only with a small point, but they can do more. If you have a good brush with natural hair and you care about it, it will last like longer than you. When I do a mistake in my painting, I learned that I have 3 times of correcting it. For example, if you do this line and it's not straight, you can do another one and the third one. But if you do more, it will get stuck. I use this rule, or what I do is when I see, oh, this is a real mistake and I cannot unsee it, then I mark it. I draw a little arrow at it and say, I try to make the negative positive. And I always ask myself if this is enough, if it's working like this, or if I do need to draw more. And this is what a sketch means to me. Do the minimum of work until it works. If you do more, it's not a fault, it's not wrong, but it's not a sketch anymore. A sketch is the minimum of effort in the drawing, in the color. If it's working, it's done.